Good morning, students. This is teacher Francisco Carvajal. Today we are going to be working on module number 1, real life experiences, topic 2, culture vulture. At this level, you know how to compare. You know how to use the form than in the comparative form, of course. You know how to use it for, why to use it for, and what to use it for. So let's make a comparison. Let's compare and make a review of these forms. The comparative form is a name for the grammar used when comparing two things. One of the basic ways to compare is using than. So this is a way that you have already seen before. So let's make a review of this topic. Let's make a description in order to make then a comparison. We have two men here, a little boy which is Jimmy and a man which is Tom. Let's describe them. Jimmy is small and Tom is tall. Here we have a question. Which of them is smaller? Well, the answer is Jimmy is smaller than Tom. Smaller than Tom. Okay, we have some activities that we do in our daily life, in our life sometimes. Practicing a sport is good for your health, but sometimes we are a couch potato. Being a couch potato is bad for your health. Which of these activities is better for your life? Well, of course, practicing a sport is better for your health than being a couch potato. So I hope you could remember this kind of comparison. We are using than and we are using adjectives, but the adjectives, of course, suffer some kind of changes. In this case, we have good. Good is an adjective, but it is an irregular adjective, which it changes into better when we are comparing because it's irregular adjective. For example, bad becomes worse. Remember it. Sometimes we do another kind of changes. This is the basic form of comparison, but there's another way. Let's look at the example. We have a frozen heart and ice, and we could say, your heart is as cold as ice. Guys, this is another way of comparison. We are comparing both things. And let's look at the other example, and then we are going to explain. Do you remember this tale? The turtle one, because it was smarter than the heart. So the hare is not as smart as turtle. It's not. Okay, where is it? Okay, it's not as smart as turtle. So we are comparing, guys, using this for as, not as. So why do we use it for? We use as to say that two things share the similar characteristics. In this case, we have another example. Swimming is as healthy as tennis. So if you do one of these activities, you are going to have a good health. So both activities share this characteristic. But we use not plus adjective plus as, or not as to say two things are not equal. For example, my city is not as fun as yours, so we are comparing that. They don't share any characteristic as in the first example, for example. So we use this. Okay, we have two sentences. Jimmy is smaller than Tom, and Tom is not as small as Jimmy. So let's make a deeper view here. Jimmy is smaller than. We are using the form than to compare, but the adjective suffers some changes. So when we have short adjectives, we add er. It is going to depend because there are some rules in English that you have already known, but we are making a review. Well, for example, if the adjective is happy, there couldn't be two consonants together, and we couldn't say happier with y. So we have to change y because there's a p before the y. So change it into I, and then add er, so happier. But there are some adjectives that are longer. For example, expensive or beautiful. So we can say beautifuler or expensiver. It is not possible because there are more than two syllables. So we say more beautiful, more expensive. We use more. But in this case, in this other way of comparing, we have not as. The adjective doesn't change. The adjective rests like this in the original form. So we add to this sentence not as, not as. In this case, Tom is not as small as Jean, or opposite, Tom is as small as Jean. So this is the way that we compare using as, not as. And the very basic form, which is than. For example, smaller than, more beautiful than, etc. So it's time to try yourself, guys. Once you have seen this video, make a summary of the main characteristics used and from of both ways of comparison using than and not as, or as. Do it on a Word file, use Technilinux rubric. Then go to the following link and you are going to do exercises 2, 3, 16, 7, and 17. You are going to print the screen and stick it on a Technilinux rubric, and you are going to upload on Blackboard. The time starts today to tomorrow at 10 p.m. Be punctual, guys, and this activity has a value of 100%. Thank you very much for your time. And if you have doubts, you could ask me on the class. Don't worry for that.